Hello, and a warm good evening. Welcome to Uncommon Conversations on Signature Television. And of course, we are reaching you from the cool city state of Enugu. Like I keep saying, Enugu is still the capital of Southeast Nigeria. My name is Uche Nasrela. Today, we're going to have an uncommon conversation around a rare topic. Yesterday, the world marked World Nature Conservation Day. It happens on the 28th of July every month. And so yesterday was a Sunday, and we chose today to talk about it. And of course, the theme for this year's program is connecting people and plants, exploring digital innovation in wildlife conservation. And we've elected to invite an environmental consultant to throw more light on what we should know about Nature Conservation Day. And he's no less a person than a man who has bestridden the climate like a colossus. He's an expert in his field, and he has done great things in that area. Do I call him comrade?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very
Comrade Uchani. Comrade, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And welcome to Signature Television.
It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Okay, first of all, I want our viewers, those who are watching us, to know who Uchan is. So can you tell us briefly about yourself?
Just like you said briefly, once more, may I greet my audience. I want to be brief because we have to hit the main topic of the day. So it shouldn't occupy, time should not be spent much on introducing myself. Briefly, I'm an environmental consultant, and I'm the principal consultant of Environmental and Human Resources Limited, which is an environmental consulting firm that specializes in environmental impact assessment, environmental audit, environmental monitoring, contaminated land remediation, pollution tracking and management, oil spill, and waste management, just to mention but a few. I'm equally one of the trustees of Mother Earth Preservation Foundation. And Mother Earth Preservation Foundation is a foundation born out of our burning desire to make sure that we do all necessary things at our disposal in our own small way to preserve the Mother Earth, because Mother Earth is facing serious and dire environmental consequences.
Well, do you have more to say?
I have academic qualification and professional qualification in environmental management, but in summary, I'm a fellow of Environmental Management Association of Nigeria. I was former managing director Enugu State Waste Management Authority and former state coordinator UNDP Enugu State. Let me stop here.
You come with a rich resume that could actually wide any person. But I'm going to ask you, this year's World Nature Conservation Day took place yesterday.
Yes, sir.
And like I said before, the theme is connecting people and plants, exploring digital innovation in wild conservation. Can you critically x-ray what is meant by exploring people and plant in an ecosystem, as well as exploring digital innovation in wildlife conservatives?
Honestly, I have to commend most immensely those people that crafted the theme of this year's World Nature Conservation Day, because that is exactly the contemporary issue facing humanity. It is tagged connecting people and plants, exploring digital innovation in wildlife conservation in any ecosystem. What can be more than that? We know that the food crisis we are facing and the environmental degradation we are facing currently, both nationally and globally, are principally because of the existing widening gap between people and forest and plants. Because what is the major components of an ecosystem after human beings is plants, that's vegetation. So people have been so much detached from plants and vegetation for several years, and people have been the major destroyers of the forest. Human beings are major destroyers of the forest. So most of the vegetations in different countries of the world, with particular reference to Nigeria and the Enugu State in particular, because I have to bring it home and bring it even to local communities. Most of the vegetations in every state of the Federation have been completely deforested What do I mean by deforestation? Deforestation is the deliberate or accidental felling of trees and other grasses from an ecosystem and giving way to physical development. You can see that most parts of Enugu State are either trees are being cut on daily basis. Some are using it for cooking because of the excruciating lack of alternative sources of Enugu, and they are ravaging poverty that are affecting many homes. So most women go into the bushes and even cut the ones that are not dried up. They cut it and leave it for some time to dry so that they will use it as source of energy for their cooking. And many people are selling their land, constructing buildings. In short, most villages are now and communities are rapidly turning into semi-urban centers. And what usually give way for this is cutting of trees and vegetations. So that's why the people that crafted the World Environment Day now said there has been diminishing population of vegetation relative to increase in population of human beings. And we know that life and forest or vegetation are interdependent. Without forest, without trees, there will be no survival of man. So there is a big gap being widening now between forest and people. And that is why the people, the WWF Fund and other United Nations organizations that developed this year's concept decided that there is a time to connect people and trees of vegetation. Think, for instance, I checked from empirical study, the number of youths that are in agriculture. You know, there is no agriculture without trees. Yeah. The number of people that are in agriculture in Nigeria, percentage of youth, is 9.6% out of 100% of youth. So we're saying that only 9% of youth in Nigeria are into agriculture, are having direct contact with trees and vegetation. That is terrible and that is abnormal. Because that shows that most of these people, these youths now, don't have anything whatsoever, no interrelationship with them, with agriculture. That's why you see some children that their father came into contact with their mother in urban center. They went to the village and do the traditional marriage and come back to the urban centers. These people have no contact at all with nature. Neither wild animal, domestic animal, nor trees in the villages. Because they can't, if they are living in a state like Independence Cloud or GRA, of course, because of the colonial masters, they have some existing trees, but they are being constantly inundated and being cut down by the president, that is Nigerians. Now, Nigeria have no regard for environmental conservation. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the reality of the moment. So once they are mother now, they start, they start giving birth to children in urban center. These children don't have any contact with nature. And maybe they will, after they have gone to a certain level, they enter nursery school, pre-nursery, nursery, primary, then secondary school, all in urban centers, no contact with forest, no contact with trees, no contact with other domestic animals. If they attended private school, that's the worst, because some private schools don't have enough space to have some gardens or agriculturalists. That's why they study agriculture theoretically in most schools, both private and public, without any of them having what is called agricultural garden. In the past, in the olden days when we school, we have nature garden, where you go and see these trees growing from seed to seedling, then to maturity. But now, some children, if you ask them, what's the source of rice? They will tell you it's from the space. Because they know that the seed is thrown into the ground, then nurtured, and it grows. Likewise, other economic trees like mangoes and the rest of them. So that is what the United Nations saw, that the present generation of youth are not having contact with nature, with trees. Some don't even know what trees is all about, what is producing. So as a result of that, they decided that it is high time we now bring people and connect people and trees together. If we don't get this thing right now, most children don't even know that you get most of these herbal drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, that they come from trees. Some of them, after going through some manufacturing processes, the herbs are being converted into tablets and the other forms of, including powdered forms. They don't know about all these things. And you know that trees are very, very veritable instruments in terms of environmental preservation and ecosystem stability. You may ask me why. If you plant about 2 or 3 trees in your compound, the type of temperature modulation you'll be experiencing will be far different from somebody that is living in the midst of structures where the person will be facing what is called urban heat phenomena. Because the more the concentration of structures in an urban areas without corresponding increase in trees that moderate the temperature of that environment, the higher the atmospheric temperature. And that has, of course, been aggravated by what is called climate change phenomenon. So this year's World Conservation Day was apt by saying that it is high time we connect people and the trees and connect people and vegetation, so that the imbalance in an ecosystem that is already existing because of increased rates of urbanization, we keep on felling trees, domestic need of trees as source of energy, and also grab for land for residential, commercial, and industrial development. All these things have subjugated and destroyed most of the vegetation within many states of the Federation, and by extension, other nations of the world and globally. So there is a time we have to marry, we have to integrate, and have to combine the existence of trees as well as survival of humanity, because two of them are interdependent. If there is total elimination of vegetation or trees, my brother, man will face total extinct.
Okay, I'm going to be asking you a question. I was in Nairobi a couple of years ago. No, just 2 years ago. I was in Nairobi, and that's Kenya.
Yes.
And Nairobi is touted as a green city. I even went to a part of Nairobi where what looks like a fence, a wall, were done with plants.
Good.
You see them well cut, and you look, the compound is like fence, but what do you get? You just get trees. And lining the streets of parts of Nairobi, you'll find green vegetation.
Beautiful.
Perhaps, maybe in Abuja, there's a little conscious effort to plant trees in Abuja. If you go, you'll find that you go through some streets and
Sure,
that,
you see.
But in parts of the southeast, I hardly see that. While you were at the waste management, was there a conscious effort that people should plant trees?
Despite the fact it was not part of my management, because what is solid waste management? Solid waste management is a process of managing liquid, solid, and gaseous waste. So there is no inclusion of forest there. But I had to be talking at different fora as an environmental consultant on the needs to ensure that every state of the Federation spends some money, set aside some money or fund for the planting of trees in urban center. I have to give kudos to the former governor of Enugu State, Sullivan Chime. You saw most of these vegetations in different layouts in Enugu, especially Independence Land, along major streets, be it Otigban, in New Haven, then part of Opera Vinogui Road, and mainly in Independence Land. It was born out of conscious desire to acknowledge that trees and humanity are interdependent and they have to exist together. So that was why he spent some money through the Ministry of Environment by then, and then back on intensive planting. You saw the benefit today. If you are driving along along most of these streets in Independence Land, you will see change in atmospheric temperature. If you have been driving along the express without any trees, then you are coming into, once you are driving through these trees, you start experiencing modulation in temperature condition from harsh to clement conditions because of what? Availability of these trees. And also, you saw what I call Eco Park beside Opera Square. There was a time that there was a move to cut it down and convert it into structure. And I'm happy that environmentalists and what I call environmental gatekeepers, they have to move into that place, form themselves into human shell and chain, and prevented from that terrible environmental damaging experience to take place. You go to that place, you take photograph. If you enter that place, I'm telling you, the temperature of this place that is aided inside the studio, aided by AC, is even warmer than the temperature of that place. If you just after this, if you move there or tomorrow you go to that place, you see the importance of nature. That ecosystem can only be balanced when you have combination of humans and plants or vegetation. So many state government, you mentioned Abuja, it is very, Abuja is showing as an example. But once you move into other states of federation, you don't see many states. Like I said during my introductory speech, that GRA, our former colonial masters, we build a small structure. They build small structure, plant many trees there. And these things have been moderating the temperature. I tell you, tree is a source of life. Let us not forget that it is tree that supplies, or trees or vegetation that supplies all the oxygen we need for our survival. Because we know in our simple science that photosynthesis is a process whereby plants use carbon dioxide that are breathed out by human beings, both animal and man, to prepare their food with the combination of sunlight They use it to prepare their food. So the source of food for plants is carbon dioxide, which we breathe out and which is dangerous to our health. And in the process of photosynthesis, the plants or vegetation which we use to cut, that should use this excess carbon dioxide and bring sanity in the atmospheric air quality condition. They use it to prepare their own food and breathe out and produce oxygen back for us. All the oxygen we use to survive, we are breathing in. Because they say we breathe out carbon dioxide and breathe in oxygen.
Yes.
All the oxygen we use, we breathe in, are sourced from plants. So imagine a situation where you now cut down these plants, and these plants can no longer convert the carbon dioxide during photosynthesis activity and sunlight to prepare their own food for their survival. Then you see the world full of carbon dioxide. And when the world full of carbon dioxide, automatically nobody can survive.
Okay, I want us to come home. And how has this year's theme honestly affected the environmental landscape of our state, which of course is the Enugu state? And what necessary interventions and strategies do you think that the federal, state, and local governments can adopt in collaboration with civil society organizations like your Mother Earth Preservation Organization to enhance, preserve, and restore wildlife and biodiversity species that are currently under threat or in danger in Enugu state?
Thank you very much.
This is a very double, triple
multiple questions, multiple combined
Yes.
into one. I thank you for that, because it will give me an opportunity to leverage on actually the what I wanted to talk about today. Enugu State, they say charity begins at home. That is
it doesn't start abroad.
So it doesn't start abroad. So what I'm happy that to ask this thing, because I have a vast experience about the ecosystem in Enugu State. Enugu State is seriously suffering from the lack of interaction or interrelationship association of people and vegetation or plants because of massive urbanization. Massive urbanization has taken place and continue to expand into rural communities, which I always address as satellite layouts. If you come into Enugu now, you see a lot of satellite layouts entering into Amage. Amage has been completely integrated into urban area that you can't even differentiate when you are moving in. And what does it result? Cutting down of trees. And once you are cutting these trees down, you are increasing what is called urban heat phenomena. You know, in March this year, there was excessive increase in heat wave, and some people were dropping because they got exhausted. And mind you, we don't have adequate availability of water supply, drinking, hygienic and, good drinking water in most communities and even states in the federation. So a sachet of pure water is now going for 50 naira. And most people cannot afford it. So when that heat of March came, a lot of people were dropping. Many people died in the process. And what could have prevented this? If there had been commensurate vegetation in most layouts and most compounds in Enugu State, that thing could have been moderating the temperature of the various
because I know as young people in school, when the weather is quite hot, you go under a tree.
That's it.
And take very cool
breeze.
Yes.
And the air quality environment is very calm. So some people even enter there and they sleep off. They don't even remember to go back to the classroom again.
Yes.
That is what is happening. But are they still there today? No school in Enugu State can boast of a garden. That is a vegetation garden. None. But we have nature study as a course in primary school. Then we also have gardens. During the time for agric, we now say a bell will ring. They will ring a bell, and everybody will move out of the classroom and rush to the garden, and the teacher in charge automatically took over. But now there is none. It has completely been eliminated. You tell people that they will develop scientifically when you left starting from the fundamentals. So we have a lot of problems, and this absence of trees are aggravating different gully erosions in most communities in Enugu State. We have small gullies that develop in different communities exacerbating into large gullies, and the state government and federal government don't have the financial capacity to address all these things. And these are simple things we could have addressed completely and comprehensively through small environmental management policy, like planting of trees, planting of these carpet grasses. And you see, once these flooding are coming with high velocity, once they hit a tree or hit these carpet grasses, the tendency is that their velocity is reduced. Then instead of moving, flowing as a concentrated runoff, they will spread. And once they are in a dispersed form, automatically their impact on eroding the topsoil of the soil ceases. then you have a stable landscape. But all these things, most communities you build, you don't even create drainage systems, then these things, there will be flooding every time. And you know the implications of flood in most cities in Nigeria now. There is a meteorological warning that some of the rivers will be overflowed because we have cut down large, great number of vegetations along these river corridors, which why this flooding we are coming to saturate the river volume, then there will be some resistance. But now everything flows with speed and enter the river, and the river level will rise and spread into human settlements, causing mayhem and other ecological consequences. So a lot has to be done by the states. Honestly speaking, I have to tell you that.
Yeah, because we're looking at the necessary strategies and interventions.
I will now come there, but another thing which is invisible to most of us is the level of inhalation of this gas, greenhouse gases in most cities in Nigeria. Most people are just moving without knowing their health status, especially with relation to cardiovascular elements, that heart problems, kidney, and the rest of them. So continuous inhaling of some of these dangerous gases by increased number of automobiles in the cities, in most cities, and Enugu in particular, has far-reaching health implications on everybody. Both people that have their offices located very close to major gridlocks like Otiba Junction. Okay. There is usually high concentration of traffic along that place.
Each time there's that traffic.
Anytime there is traffic, the vehicle engine is still running, and emission is continuously coming out. And those people that are within that environment, that particular ecosystem, they are more subjected to increasing inhalation of these greenhouse gases, especially carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is one of the deadliest gases, and you don't know by the time you reach a certain threshold of inhalation, you are knocked off. So these are the silent dangers we are facing because of our negative attitude on the environment. So there are many of them, but time will not allow us to.
Yeah,
then
we'll have time. What could federal, state, and local governments do in collaboration with civil society organizations like Mother Earth to preserve and restore wildlife and biodiversity?
Two basic things is summed up in two. Adequate funding. Bring out funds and make sure that you give it to well-organized, sincere, and educated NGOs. NGOs that know what exactly they can do about preservation and protection of the Mother Earth. Some NGOs, we have what is called kangaroo NGOs, overnight formed NGOs. Then the husband, the wife, the children are members of the association. So, but if you have a formidable NGOs that are well-tailored, well-tutored, and who know their onions in environmental protection and preservation, and these people are encouraged, they can start what is called advocacy and sensitization, and it is very, very expensive. So these people will be reaching out to rural communities, even urban centers, going through schools, forming what is called environmental clubs or eco clubs, whereby these children, we catch them young, environmental, both in primary and secondary schools. So if government set aside funds to credible NGOs and partner with them, there will be formation of environmental clubs both in primary and secondary school, because if we catch them at that level, honestly speaking, by the time they enter universities, they are fully acquainted and highly knowledgeable in environmental protection and conservation. So if you form that club, it is on the right direction. Then we have to bring back nature study in primary and secondary schools. It must be compulsory. It is not enough to say there is biology as a course. It is not enough. Then another thing is that we have to make use of traditional rulers. Faith-based traditional rulers have to be fully engaged. Then you have to provide resources for these people. Then we have to form what is called eco-cultural organization clubs in rural communities, whereby there are certain cultures that ensure that certain species of trees, you don't cut them down in a particular community. If you cut them, or you go and touch them, or even climb that tree, then automatically is a taboo, and you have to be sanctioned for that. So such forests even do not exist again. Most of the forests, they are termed evil forests, or forests you should not go in. They have people from other communities have come there, level them, and converted them into one form of industry or the other. We are not against industrialization. Industrialization is very good because it provides job opportunities. But job opportunities cannot only be provided by one source. What we are saying, if you plant enough trees, after all, in the 60s, Nigerian economy was sustained substantially through agriculture. Is it not true?
Yes.
That's exactly. We didn't have oil. Yes, areas of palm produce. Yes. Then the amount develops in the north of this granite pyramid, yes. And the Awolowos of the west, cocoa. These things were sustaining the economy of Nigeria. Nigeria were the world largest producers of this product. Where are we today? When oil was discovered in Olobre in the 50s, then we lost track of our direction and mindset in terms of agriculture and entered it. You see what oil is now costing. There is no time in the existence of man you can say that you will face agriculture because the practice is harmful to the environment. But you are now seeing that crude oil is gradually to be faced in the next 30 years because of terrible environmental implications in the atmosphere. So very soon now, you will see that all countries that have oil will not be proud of having oil again because there will be international ban, and when you don't have a buyer, a supply is just as useless as any other thing on earth. So these are the issues and challenges that are facing us. So another area we can say that they will partner with us is that some of these NGOs, like our own NGO, we intend to establish what is called Eco Garden. There is no zoo again in the whole southeast and south. Tell me anyone. After the conversion of the zoo near the H2DIF into most highbrow residential area, I learned that a piece of land now goes between almost 200 million, a piece of land there, up to 1,200. So the animals were taken away. We don't have zoo. Children don't even know. We ask a child, born about 70 years, he cannot even tell you different types of animals. But we used to go to that place and see different lion, this, that, monkey, and the rest of them. So we intend now, while we are participating effectively in this area, we have intention to start. We have procured land.
Yeah, I'm really going to ask you, because in the course of your introductory statement, you mentioned Mother Earth Preservation Foundation. So I'm going to ask you, before we actually go on a break, to briefly tell us about Mother Earth Preservation Foundation and its objectives.
That's all right.
Yeah. So tell me about Mother Earth Preservation Foundation and its objectives.
Okay. There are several objectives of Mother Earth, but the aim of Mother Earth is to ensure the protection and preservation of Mother Earth. That is the aim. And to achieve this, what did we decide? We stated we are pushing vigorously that there has to be holistic sustainable environmental practices from top down, from our leaders down to the people in nursery school. And not only, I won't say primary school, to nursery school, our kids. We have to start telling them, teaching them the necessary ethics, the necessary characters and behaviors which they have to imbibe in order to protect the earth. If a child eats and drops food carelessly, even spray it on the table, tell the person to pack it well, put it inside the plate and take it to the dustbin. You are catching them young. Are you getting me? Yeah, so yeah. Some elders, some grown-ups, politicians, and even some civil servants, people, parents, fathers, mothers, you see some of them are eating in a vehicle while their driver is driving them. After finishing the food they bought from one of these roadside or even from these restaurants, fast food centers. They will just finish eating, wrap it and throw it, just wind down in their AC vehicle and throw it. These are harmful practices to the Mother Earth. So we want to imbibe comprehensive environmental education, because we've seen that from even the people we call elders, they lack it. So we are going to use effective systems, both in radio, so that while we are talking and educating people, if you tune your radio, unless you decide to tune it off and tune to another radio that is giving you music, but we'll be bombarding through radio stations, going through environmental clubs in different schools, both primary and secondary, and also going through different platforms like community meetings, because there are some community meetings, and of course we are targeting that we are going to partner with government and some rich individuals to establish community viewing centers, where we will now, through a control room in our office, we'll be sending issues and discussing issues on wildlife, then different species of trees, different species of animals, what you can do, that animals are your friend, trees are your friend. Don't treat them as enemies, because human beings cannot exist without these animals. And also,
Comrade, I'm going to pause you a little bit. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, you will continue this conversation around the objectives of Mother Earth Foundation.
Thank you very much.
So, viewers, don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly, and we'll continue the conversation. You are still watching Uncommon Conversations on Signature Television, and of course, we are still reaching you from our Enugu studios. My guest is still Comrade Uchani. Before we went on a short break, we were talking about the objectives of the Modern Ed Foundation. I want you to continue from where you stopped.
Okay, like the first one I said is the number one objective was to embark on environmental advocacy and sensitization in order to educate people on the principles and practices of environmental conservation and preservation. Second one is sanitation and waste management. Without good sanitary environment, nobody can survive, because an unsanitary environment is a disease-prone environment. So we embark on education too, because they are interrelated with the first one. We're back on education, telling people the sanitary practices they have to embark upon. Take, for instance, if you go to Asata River, you will discover that Asata River has become a cesspool for the dumping of all forms of waste from Oboeteme market, from different households. And the worst is that there was an empirical study we carried out, our foundation carried out about 2-3 years ago. And we discovered that some of the people, some of the landlords that constructed buildings very close to the river has connecting pipes, PVC pipe from their soakaway pit into the river. And that has resulted that most of these soakaway pits cannot fill to the brim. And they are now saving money to embark on by engaging the services of sewage evacuation companies to come and evacuate it, and while on the other side they are polluting that Asata River. So the Asata River is heavily polluted with both human waste, that is feces, and some other forms of waste, both from people's residence, commercial establishment, as well as major markets like Oboeteme market. I'm telling you from point of knowledge, position of knowledge, that most of the abattoirs in the main market, once they finish killing, slaughtering these animals, all the contents of the stomach, everything that is there, they just push it and flush it, and the whole thing will flow straight into the Asata River. So we're embarking on serious sensitization, because some communities that are at the poverty level, some that are highly impoverished, cannot access good water. And while this water is flowing at Asata River and migrating, they are passing through series of vegetations, and a filtration process is taking place. But the water may be clean, or what I call translucent, but it is still full of different germs and organisms, which are very, very threatening to human life. And these children from these poor families, innocent children, we fetch it and go to their house. Some will use it to bath. Some may be privileged to know that they have to cook it before they drink it or whatever. But even once you use it to bath, there are pores on human cells that water used to bath penetrates. So whatever bacteria or this thing that is there can enter through the hair pores. And you cannot safeguard and secure your mouth or your nose, your eyes, while you are bathing. So some of these bacteria can enter into our bodies, the bodies of these innocent children, unknowingly through this process. So we are embarking on serious environmental sensitization and campaign that people should stop throwing their waste, even their abattoirs. The market management should make an arrangement whereby any available land, they have to construct a cesspool, so that all these waste in liquid form that are coming from the slaughter side of the distance, we move into the cesspool. Once it is getting to the brim, then they have to engage the service of this waste truck these people that evacuate waste from human settlement and take it to the final dump site. So these are these things we are embarking on, and also embarking on contacts. That is, if you have gone out and come back, the doorknob is a terrible source of infectious diseases. I'm telling you, because especially these ones in bank, if somebody sneezes or somebody has come from a toilet, he didn't even wash his hand, he will press the knob and go in. Another person will press, and whatever contaminants in the tongue of that first person, maybe it's coming from toilet or sneezing and whatever, or even have tuberculosis and cough. So once you contact it, some people don't even wash before they now get buy granite or biscuit. They will be, so
they will just be
dangers here and there. So these are the things we are going to embark to protect individuals' personal hygiene, then outdoor hygienes, by making sure that wherever you stay, don't wait for government to come and clear your drainages. If you get your solid waste, pack them properly in a bag and take it to the refuse dumpsters that are located in different streets. for the private participating companies who are in charge of, we call them PSP.
Okay.
They will come and collect it and go.
Comrade, you speak like a lecturer. You speak like a professor. But I'm going to ask you, what is the relationship between Mother Earth preservation and the present global clamor for climate change, mitigation, and adaptation? What's the relationship?
The clamor for climate change, mitigation, and adaptation is the concern of everybody, except somebody who has not known the devastating implication, even to that person's life. Mother Earth, you know what, as the name goes, Mother Earth preservation. Can you preserve the earth without seriously addressing the implications and their consequences and catastrophic impacts of climate change? Climate change in climate change in a nutshell is just changes in climatic conditions of a particular zone or region over a long period of time. What differentiates it from weather is that weather is in a short form. And what has resulted in this climate change, because I have to give little background before I now put our relationship, and that formed some of our core objectives. The causes of climate change principally are these: the impact of greenhouse gases, which are carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, then water vapor, chlorofluorocarbon, then and others. These are the 4 major causes of climate change, and even ground ozone. So the problem with this is that all of them are ultimately due to increasing activities of man, industrialization and urbanization. That was why I told you during my introductory speech that there is a British professor that is called Gay, Professor Gay. He stated that when God created the Mother Earth, he created it with a balance between vegetation and human activities, so that the quantity of carbon dioxide man and other animals will breathe out will be commensurate with the quantity vegetation and trees, because they are called vegetation in this need for their photosynthetic activities, and they give equal balance of oxygen to man to continue the survival. But what has happened, what is called disequilibrium in the ecosystem, vegetations are depleting, population of man is increasing, the quantity of carbon dioxide emission and other green gases are increasing. Then vegetation that helps as a buffer and a system that tries to weigh down the adverse consequences of the impact of this CO2 are no longer there because of industrialization, buildings and rest of them, road construction, railway lines, and what have you. So they are no longer, they are going down. The arrow is vegetation is going down, then human population is going up. And as human population is going up, heavy quantity of carbon dioxide, which is the major, carbon dioxide is the major contributor to ozone layer depletion, which is the principal cause of climate change and global warming. So since there is increased supply or emission of carbon dioxide from different sources into the atmosphere, and we're having depleting population of trees and vegetation, climate consequences will continue to arise. So, and this has resulted in increase in flooding, then increase in what I call urban heat phenomena, landslide, and also increase in cases of cardiovascular ML, like I told you. I'm not saying that the removal of fuel subsidy is a totally a blessing, because there are no commensurate but it is the right path to go, but there was no commensurate alternative in order to cushion the adverse consequences. But I'm telling you that due to removal of fuel subsidy, number of vehicles, some families have about 4 to 5 vehicles, and they put them on the road. Ike will take 1 vehicle and drive. The wife will take, the husband will take, then Messi will take. So about 5 vehicles on the road with emitting different gases that threaten the ozone, threaten the atmosphere, resulting into climate change. But I'm telling you, with the high cost of fuel now, PMS, many families are managing 1 vehicle and parking the rest. Don't you see? On the other side, it has resulted in a reduction of gaseous emission into the atmosphere, which affects and contributes to climate change. So that's sad part. So a lot of dangerous impacts of climate change are here and there, and that is why even the longevity of human beings are reduced, especially in African countries, where we don't have some systems, both in terms of good food, that's balanced diet, good medication or medical facilities. You have it in advanced countries, but pollution has no international boundary. Whatever pollutant that hits America will continue into the air, coming into Africa. But the only difference is that as it's crossing the oceans, the tendency is that the vapor will be pulling some of them down. So by the time it's reaching Africa, the volume and the intensity is minimized. But I'm telling you, air pollution has no international boundary. If Nigeria pollutes its atmosphere, it will reach Cameroon, it will reach Togo, it will reach Niger, it will reach Chad, and continue like that, even Burkina Faso. If such things come from these countries, it will come. And collectively, they will change the climatic condition of the region in terms of climate change. So coming to our relationship or our interest in climate change, there is no Mother Earth Preservation Foundation without its principal objective or aim centered on climate change, addressing climate change. That's why it is called preservation. How can you preserve the environment if you are experiencing climate change volatility? There must be stability in the climatic condition for Mother Earth to be preserved or conserved. That is number one. So, like I stated earlier, that was why we have far-reaching measures on ground. Like this thing we are trying to establish. We are trying to establish a zoological garden or botanical garden along after Peace Mass Transit from Ezimo to this OP Road to Nsukka. So the
are you doing it in connection with the government? Is this a private initiative? Is it a private initiative?
That's our foundation bought the land, and we are collaborating with the government. We discovered some unique. We didn't just do it as an economic venture. We are an NGO, non-governmental organization. So we made some preliminary research and discovered that there are rare species of monkeys and other animals that are peculiar to that particular area. So what we did was to arrange with the community and even co-opt with them because they have a stake in the project. Okay. So we co-opt with them, but we paid for the place. Then we are co-opting them too, so that we preserve those species of animals and the vegetation, wildlife that are in that place. So we now want to prepare the place in its natural state, possibly construct nets around the area. There is also a lake there that contains many aquatic and marine organisms within that area. And there is a waterfall too. So we want to produce that in what we are going to develop that place is nature to nature. The type of structures, there is what is called eco-architecture. Most buildings in urban centers don't wear eco-architecture. It's the only physical structure. If you put eco-architecture, you integrate both traditional ways of preserving the environment with the modern architecture, and that's what we call eco-architecture. We are going to make sure our structures that we are going to develop in those places combine with modern architecture and traditional architecture. And people will be driving that place with their children who have not known anything about wildlife to get there and see its life. And we'll put some structures like satellite images through it, and also cameras, high-resolution cameras and drones. We'll use it to capture other neighboring communities where some of these species of animals are. Then we'll try to introduce most of them there because we want to capture them in a system and conserve them there, feed them there, and preserve. We are seeking that government will partner with us, both at federal, state, and local government levels, so that we preserve this place. And any species of animal, we will establish a portal that any species of animal anybody discovers in his or species of tree, the person should take photograph of it and send it to our control system. Once we see it, we mobilize our zoologists and technical field team. They will go there, identify the animal. Because if you leave the animal, so hunters and some people that are impoverished in the community, once they catch it, they will kill it and use it as bushmeat. You understand? So once we see some of these animals, we bring them into this center, take care of them. And you will see that trees and animal, which is collectively called, because what is wildlife is trees, animals, and microbes, that is organisms. So you will see that place will now be an ecosystem that is intact, that is compact, different from other places across the country.
Okay, Comrade Uche, we're going to come home a little bit again, and that means we'll be looking at our state. So can you enumerate to us some of the adverse environmental consequences Enugu State is currently facing due to the impacts of climate change and global warming? This is our state.
Okay, one is, which is a major one that is giving me a concern, because I whatever small opportunity I see, I use it to bring it to the public domain, You know that when coal was discovered in 1909 by Engineer Kiston, the British mine engineer who was exploring for silver, and eventually he stumbled into coal along the Udi Ridge. About 16 underground mines came into existence because the old system was underground tunnel mining, you understand?
Okay.
So most of these tunnels now, because it's under industrialization, which is part of the factors that fuel climate change, the first industry in Eastern region, because I'm not calling it East Central State. It was formerly Eastern region, then East Central State, before calling it Southeast. Then the Anambra State. After Anambra has gone, then Enugu and Eboy remain. After Eboy has gone, it now came down to Enugu. So Enugu has been home capital to many political structures over the years. So when these people came, the first mining activities by the British was in Enugu, which was this coal, because they required energy urgently, even to power most of their plants and source energy, the source electricity. So, and also for locomotive engines in Nigeria, so that they will be taking their exports, granite and cocoa, back to their country, to the wharf, then through the sea to their various countries for their industries. So, when they came to Enugu, they established it. The first mine was Obwete mine in Kokam. Then after Obwete, you now have Asata mine. After Asata mine, you have Udi mine. After Udi mine, you have a Prism mine towards Sidon. Then after, because it's in a semicircular way. After the Prism mine, you now come to Eva Valley mine. After Eva Valley mine, you have a Palm Valley mine. Palm Valley is Camp 2. Then after that, you now come to Prism mine 2 at Potre, towards the express. After that, we come to Oyama mine. Then going towards Gariki, you get to Akuke East mine, Akuke West mine. But let me shock you. Most of the only 3 out of these 16 mines have been exhausted.
So
they have been exhausted. But the other...
No, there are 16.
16.
And you say how many have been exhausted?
Only 3. Then
meaning 13?
Meaning 13 are still saturated with reserves. But the problem is this. Because they have opened them and started mining, after some time they have crisis in the mining process. This resulting in the labor crisis with the management. You know, there was a time the British Polish people came, corruption and, you know, unnecessary bureaucracy, you know, destroyed it once more. So some of these 13, the remaining 13 have been flooded. Okay. All these 13 have been flooded. That you cannot move into the mine because they're already flooded. You can't see unless there is a suction machine that will remove the flood before you now start mining. So we have about EE has about 42. Then Ezimo, with the totality of these 15 mines is 54. Ezimo in Osoka has about 30-something million reserves. I have that data in my office. So these 13 underground are now saturated and the reserves are still intact. But the problem we have is that some of the reserves, some of these existing reserve has experienced deep entry through this underground channel before they were abandoned. Do you understand? And what has gone? The flood has entered into them, these areas, saturated them, as well as those tunnels, 3 tunnels that have been exhausted. And having saturated, you know, these coal miners, before they move in, as they are digging, they are supporting the overlaid with beams, wooden beams and rafters, in order to hold it from collapsing on them. So as they move, they keep on supporting it as they are moving and getting the coal out. So some of these beams and rafters that are wooden have been saturated with water and they are caving in gradually. That is the danger now we are facing in these tunnels. So it is very, very important that the state government has to raise a committee that has to carry out what is called underground survey investigation with experts, both environmental experts and the rest of them, geologists, civil engineers, even lawyers that would handle the legal aspect of it with some international institutions.
I'm going to take you. Time is not our friend. We're battling with time. There's one question I would like you to take before we call it a day. Yeah, Mother Earth is a non-governmental organization.
Yes.
So what challenges are you facing in your crusade to protect the Mother Earth? And what solutions can you provide to address these challenges to achieve sustainable Mother Earth? I want to do this in 2 minutes.
Okay. The major challenge facing us is funding. We want to collaborate with all government, both federal federal, state, and local government and international organizations, and even private institutions. We can, any private institution or private organization or any personality, any rich personality that thinks that we can immortalize the name of his family with an eco garden. The person can call us, we'll do it free of charge without charging anything, and they will jointly participate with us. We develop some of these gardens and ecosystems and zoological gardens for them. So if we have money, we intend after that in Soka Own, which we are doing out of our little resources, after establishing that one along very close to Peace Mass Transit University, that is Madoka University. We intend to replicate it even at local government levels, because if you now have a conservation center in one particular place, what happens? Enugu State alone has 17 local government. So funding is key, and once we have fund, we can partner with any local government chairman that is willing to partner with us. We come and establish it free of charge for him. Let him not pay us consultancy fee, and we help him in the supervision and making sure that all these conservation centers are running. Then international organizations, we already partnered with about two of them. So, and what we are assuring any person that partners with us that they will see whatever we are doing on ground is not hypothetical. We are not hypothetical as far as this is concerned.
My last question would be, what would be your advice? Just do it in 30 seconds. What would be your advice to federal, state, and local governments to achieve the theme of this year's World Conservation Day? What would be your advice to them so that the objective is achieved? If
people are not connected now or reconnected, because people were initially connected, if people during the agricultural days in Nigeria, if people are not reconnected as quickly as possible to trees and vegetation, Nigeria can never achieve food security. The reason why we are not achieving this food security is because of security threats to life. And most importantly, a lot of people are no longer taking farming as a profession. People don't see what is called dignity of labor in farming. Because of this thing is because of the detaching of people and trees. So what I'm advising the federal government is that they have to provide all the necessary securities so that farmers can go back to field. And when farmers go back to the field, then agriculture will become attractive. And let them put all the necessary incentives like provision of farm input free of charge to farmers. Nigeria can afford it.
Comrade, I must thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I must thank you very much for finding time to be here.
Thank you very much.
And for the expose that you've given us this evening.
Thank you very much.
I wish you the best of luck, and do hope that next time when we invite you, you'll find time to be here.
Thank you very
much.
much.
This is where we call it today. Join us same time tomorrow for yet another interesting edition of Uncommon Conversations. Bye for now.